working. There we go. Yay. Awesome. I've had a little bit of technical difficulty, probably as usual, you guys are thinking. So, one of my webcams isn't working. The webcam that I like to use over at the sewing table. So, I had to do some adjustments. But we're live, and to have a fun project today. I have been making these this week, adding them to my store, and they're so cute. I am in love with them. So I decided that would be this week's project, and it's these cute little wallet wristlets. It holds a phone. Let me show you. It can hold a phone just like that. And then on this side, you're going to see it has little card slot holders, and you can put your money in there, cards, IDs. What am I doing? And then it has magnetic clasp, just like that, so that you can just take it on the go, just like that. So if you don't like to carry purses and you're kind of a minimalist and you just want everything in one, this is the project for you. So I am totally in love with these little things. I've been making them. So I'm going to show you guys my pattern. I'm going to show you guys how to sew these up. And these are going to be available in my store. And if you're on the Facebook page, I will be doing a Facebook Live shopping, hopefully tomorrow. So this is what we're making today. Not in this pattern. Not in this pattern. I have another fun pattern that you guys are going to love. It's going to be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if you're watching the replay, let me know you're here. Make a comment, like, share, do all those things. It really helps support this small little channel. And if you're not on Instagram or Facebook and you guys want to follow me over there, that would be great. I post if I buy a new pattern or if I do a new project, I post over there. Hi, Mom. Yeah, my mom got one of the first ones. One of my, what do you call them? It's like a, I don't know, there's a word, and I don't know the word, but it was one of my first ones. So it was like my practice one or my template one. I don't know. But anyway, I've modified a few things as I went along that works better. It seems more functional. So I'm going to show you guys how I make them now. And I'm hoping for those of you that watch and you would like to download the template, I'm hoping to get that up and going online so that you can download the template and you can make them for yourself at home, or for if you guys sell crafts, you can make them and sell them just like I am planning to do with mine. Okay, I'm not going to ramble on because people click on and they just want to see the video, right? You've clicked on because you want to see the process. So I am going to shoot you guys over here to my work table, and I have everything laid out. So here's my template that I've created. So it started at this huge piece of paper here, but I find that it's easier to cut my fabric, fold it in half so that everything is square, right? So I find it better to cut my fabric in half, lay my template down, and then cut it out so that everything's right. So here's my template. This measures, so you're going to need two, an outside and an inside, okay? This is my outer layer. This is my inner layer, and if you guys can see, it is shimmery, and it is so cool. And no, the glitter doesn't get everywhere. That's why I like it. So this measures about 16.5 in width, okay? And then it measures about 8 inches this way. I guess length, and then 8 inches in this width. And then about 2 inches here, and then you're going to splice down about 1.25 inches and then up, and then another 2 inches. So if you're wanting just to not wait for the download and you want to do it, then that's what these are. So I have 2 of those. This is going to be the card slots if you want to do your IDs, your debit cards, whatever. So this is going to measure about 9 inches in width or length, I don't know, and 3 inches this way, okay? So you're going to need one of those. This is going to be your strap, okay? This is going to be the wristlet part, and I like mine to be about 7 inches around, so you're going to want to cut it about 14 inches in length, a little longer if you want it longer, and about 3 inches wide, okay? That's that. Now, I also attach these. You do not have to attach these, but I like to attach them because you can put your keys on there, these little lobster claw things. You can attach it to other things. You could actually get a carabiner, you know, the little carabiner clips, clip it on if you wanted to attach your wristlet onto your hip, you know, your pocket, your loop, and your belt, or whatever. So these are very handy. I like those. You do not have to, but you will need like a D-ring. You will need some type of a metal attachment. Okay, I'm using magnetic clips. I find they're easier, but if you need to modify and you want to use Velcro, oh yes, prototype. Thank you, Mom. I gave her a prototype. If you want to use Velcro, totally use Velcro. It is fine. I'm just, since I'm selling these, I'm choosing to use the magnetic clips because I don't want to clip them together yet because it's hard to pry them apart. They just clip together. So they like find each other and they just clip and they hold, and I love these. So you're going to need one of these, which would be a set, but we're going to set those aside. For now, we're going to set all these aside and we're going to work on these. So you will need interfacing, okay? You can use a fleece interfacing. You can use, I've just got this Pellon interfacing. Let's see, mine is 808, I believe. And 808, it's a more sturdy, firm interfacing, but you will need an interfacing because if you don't, it's going to be really flimsy. But, you know, your preference. So the first thing you're going to need to do is attach your interfacing. So you're just going to lay the shiny side down if it's an iron-on. If it's a sew-on, you know the process. But this one is an iron-on. So I'm going to lay it down. And as you can see, mine doesn't go all the way. And that's fine because we're going to sew these down anyway, eventually. So it doesn't go all the way. It's fine. If you want yours to go all the way, cut it however, right? And then I've got a little bit, you know, not quite to the edge, all the way around. So I'm going to go iron this on, and we're going to do that for both pieces. We're going to do that for both pieces. This is such a simple project. When you first start making a project, it's best to give yourself, I want to say, like a couple hours. It usually takes me a couple hours to learn a new project. I don't know about you guys, but to get it down. And now I can make one of these in under an hour. So once you get the process down, you get your pattern cut out, you get everything laid out, and you're just able to sew. It really makes things go by faster. I had given one away last night to a girl at church. It was her birthday, and it was in this very pattern. This is my favorite pattern right now. Well, I don't know, y'all. The one I showed you is really kind of my favorite, too. I really like this, and I got this pattern at Hobby Lobby, and I'm digging it. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to put this on here, just like this. It wants to fold up because it's been rolled, which they do sell it by the yard, and I should just buy it by the yard, but it's easier to grab a roll a 4-yard roll and just go instead of having to cut it. I'm just going to give it a press and make sure that it kind of stays. I think my next little purchase or my next investment will be one of another iron for fabric. An iron, one of those big iron presses would totally be an awesome thing to have to get your interfacing to just really set and stay because they get so hot. But I have an iron and it works just fine. But if you want to get fancy, get your iron press and press that interfacing on. I just want to get it on there to stay. All right, now that I did that, I'm just going to snip off right here, this where it's kind of overlapped, just in the V, just like that. And then what I want to do is go back and iron it, and iron it with, like, smooth it with the iron just like this so that it really presses in those edges. You don't want anything to curl up later or come off. And we're going to do that with the other side. We're just going to snip that excess off just like this and iron. Okay, now that it's all pressed, oh wait, I better smooth that out. Look what I did. Okay, let's try this again. Now that it's all pressed, we are going to work on putting in the card slot holder. So grab this piece right here, and this is not a requirement, but if you have some type of, you know, paring shears, or I use these little doodads, I like to use them just to clip that off, just like that. Okay, and then you're going to fold down the top and you're going to iron it. So we're going to iron all the way across. This just kind of helps us get a good seam because we're going to sew this down. And the paring shears, or whatever they're called, they will help for it not to unravel and your threads come out. So just like that, okay? Now, we need to measure this because this is where we're going to start folding. And so I've got my print side up, okay? And I need to measure up about 3, let's see. Oh, is this right? Let me see. Yeah. You could go up to 4 if you wanted to go up to 4 inches, and then press the seam. Okay, you're gonna press your seam down, and then that's gonna give you your marker. That's gonna give you your mark to where we're gonna need to sew this in. Okay, so now you're gonna set your thing here. Okay, kind of set it here, and if you have tailor chalk or whatever, you can make that mark so that you remember. Use a different color. That white's not showing up. So that way you kind of know where to set this. Okay. Now we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we are going to top stitch this part that we just folded over and ironed down, okay? We're going to just make a top stitch right across there to hold that down. So let's get over to the sewing machine. And I'm going to set mine on a length 3, okay? And I'm just going to sew right along the front, or right along the top of there. Okay. Just like that. Now, line this up to the line that you just made, okay? Make sure that it's straight. If you just want to eyeball it, you can. All right. Lay it on there. Let me get my ruler. Okay, I grabbed my ruler and my tailor chalk. And I'm going to place my ruler right here in this crease right here, this little place we cut out. And I'm just gonna make a mark, and this is where I'm gonna sew this together. Okay, I'm gonna go straight down this line to make sure that it's centered. So I'm going to scoot this over here. Okay, I'm just gonna sew it together. Just like that. And you have just attached your card slots. Just like that. Okay, back to the work table. Now. Just do some trimming. Do some trimming off there. Okay, and this is what it's going to look like. Okay, these are going to be flappy, and that is totally fine. They're going to come out a little bit, and that is totally fine. We want that. We want them to be a little bit longer than this, okay, because it's going to help us later when we sew this together. So now I want you to set this aside, and I want you to get your outer liner, okay. Well, let me see. And we're going to trim off this scraggly pieces. They just get in the way, and they're annoying. We don't want to work with those. All right. Now we are going to attach our magnetic clasp. So it depends on what kind you have. So if you're going to use Velcro, it's the same process. Just sew your Velcro on. If you use these that are press-on, these are the best. But if you have a sew-on snap, that is totally fine. It is up to you how you want your closure. But I do recommend you add some type of closure so that you can carry this around and your stuff it's not going to flop open and lose everything, okay? So what we're going to do here is I have made marks on my template, and this little dot lets me know that this is how far I need to put my snap, okay? So this was for my own process. So it's about 1 3/4 inch away from this little corner piece right here, this little indentation. But this is how I do it. This is my homemade style. So I line this back up just like that, see? And then I fold it over, and then I use my tailor chalk, and I make a mark just like that. So I know this is where my clasp needs to be, is this little mark. You guys can't see it, but that's for me. I do the same thing on the other side. I line it up, I fold it over, and I make the mark. And that lets me know, all right, girl, you need to add it right there, and it will work great. Now, I take my ream zipper, my seam ripper, and I go just kind of on the outside of it, and I just rip a small little hole on both sides, just like that, okay? So I take the clasp, and I poke it through, and I may not have made these wide enough. They're pretty wide. And you push them through the little holes you made, okay, until it comes out on the other side. I don't think I went through that one all the way. Okay. So you push it through, and it should poke through just like that, okay? Then you take this top piece, just like that, add it on the top, and you press it down. And that is how easy these are. It just depends on what you're using, and it looks like I didn't put that on quite. I didn't put that on quite centered, but it will work. So I need to make sure I get this centered up. So I need to go here over a little bit just to make sure I get these centered. So I'm going to poke it through the hole, take my next little part, poke it through, put my back on, and press it down. Okay, your clasps are on. Yay! Okay, now we're going to add this piece to this piece. So I know that the bigger piece is going to be my bottom snap, and the lighter piece is going to be my top. So I am going to put my card slot piece on the side, or on the side that has the bigger magnetic thing. So whatever way you're doing it, this is your bottom piece, and this is where you're going to want your card slots to go. So you're going to face them together, okay, just like that. And I like to sew mine together with my clasp up so that I can kind of see where I'm at. So you're going to want to center these up and line them up the best that you can. They may not be totally even, but do it the best you can, because you're going to want straight stitches so that everything lines up nicely. So I am going to put some pins in here just so that things don't slip and slide as I'm sewing around it, okay? So I like to put some at the bottom, on the edge, just like that. Now, we are going to want to leave about a 5-inch gap on this side, one of your sides, okay? About a hand width, because you're going to want to stick your hand in there, and we're going to be able to turn these over. So if you need to make yourself a mark, if you say, okay, I want to start about right here, so I'm going to start about right here, and then you want a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to sew to about right here. If you need to make a mark, do that now so that you know I'm going to start here, I'm going to sew all the way around, and then when I get here, I need to stop, because you're going to want this gap so that you can turn this inside out or right side out when it's time. So let's take this over to the sewing machine and sew around this. Whoops, wrong thing. I am leaving my stitch length on a 3. It'll hold. If you want a tighter stitch, you adjust it to your preference. So I'm just going to sew about a 1/4 inch around, back stitching. Okay, we're going to pivot and turn this. Sewing from edge to edge. Pivot and turn. Okay, working very carefully around these this V shape. Oh, I'm getting pretty close. You don't want to get too close. I'm getting pretty close to the edge. We don't want to do that. Okay. Take my pins out as I go. Okay, I'm coming back to the other edge, and I'm going to be very careful as I sew around these. Pivot and turn. My machine wants to go, y'all. Wants to go. All right. Now, I'm only going to sew down to my mark, and that's where I'm going to stop. Back stitching so that your thread don't come undone when you start pulling this in the right side out. And cut. All right, guys. That is done. Okay, back to the work table. And now I'm going to take my little rotary cutter. You can use your scissors, that's fine. And I'm going to trim off these, see these big pieces that we still had? And I'm just going to trim it up a little bit, all the way around. I'm going to round off my corners, which means I'm just going to cut the corners off, just like that. Clean it up because you don't want that bulk. Remember, we talked about bulk seams before. You do not want that. And clip off the corner. Just like that. These are so fun. These are so fun. Where did I not cut? Okay. Corner. All right. I'm going to go ahead and give this a press on the places that I see are trying to come up, okay? Because when I flip this, I don't want this lifting and getting all bunched up together. So I'm just going to give it a quick press one more time. On both sides. Alright, and it kind of softens it up a little bit when you do that, so that when you're turning it, it's easier to turn, because this will get very stiff, and when it gets stiff, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to turn. So I like to start at the corner where I have my card slots, okay? So I try to go in here and poke it down and grab that corner with my hand and gently pull it out. Just like that. And as you can see, that's still coming up. Gently pull it out and just gently work it all out. This is kind of a, oop, I ripped a seam. Tedious process because you don't want to rip seams and you don't want to tear your project up, but you want to get that out of there. Okay. One more corner here. Gotta turn it out. Just like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to stick my hands in there and I'm going to push these corners out. Just work it out the best you can because we're going to sew some of this down. Okay. Now, smooth it, feel it. This is where I take my scissors and I go back in and I try to push these corners out the best I can without pushing through. You don't want to push through your project, and don't forget these little edges right here because it makes that V line right there. So you want to make sure you kind of press those out too. And then do the same on the other side. Just like that. Working it all out. Alright. Look it over. See what you think. See if you like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Gotta go back in on this side. It's being very stubborn. So I'm going to actually start with this side. I'm going to iron this down now. You're going to iron all your edges down. I'm going to actually hold this piece that's being stubborn, and I'm going to go over here and start with this first, and you're just going to take your iron and you're going to smooth it out, and you're going to make sure it lays very flat, okay? That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go over here and iron this stubborn piece out. It is not going to win today. Just go all the way around it. This is a good time for you to really iron out any of those rough pieces. If it kind of come undone, you can iron, put that iron to it and have it set again. Because mine was trying to come out. Now, this piece right here that we left open, this is where you're going to want to tuck it in and iron it down, okay? We are not going to do anything with it yet, but we will. You will see how this all works out. It's so cool. So just tuck those pieces in and then take it back to your iron and press it and hold it. I also like to use my clips to keep it held down because it will want to try to come back up. It's stubborn, remember that. So you're going to want extra pieces to hold it down, or use your pins. You can use your pins. So I just try to take one piece, fold it over, get it pressed down, and then work on the other piece, press it down, and then press them together. And it will cooperate. Eventually it will cooperate. And this is the piece that kind of the seam ripped, so it's going to be a little even more stubborn because it already ripped out a little bit, so I'm going to have to work with it. So once I get it pressed down a little bit, that side looks good. I'm actually going to clip it and hold it so that it won't come out. And so now this is where the seam ripped, so I'm going to have to tuck it in and get it pressed really good, or it's going to keep trying to come out. So that is what I'm working on. Okay, I'm going to press it real good. And I'm going to take my clip and clip it down. Just like that. Okay. Now, moving on. What I like to do, you do not have to do this, it's just something that I think looks really good at in the final product. I'm going to top stitch this side and this side. Okay, do not top stitch all the way around. Just top stitch the ends, and this is for decorative purpose only. So what I'm talking about is when you open it, you're going to see the top stitch all the way around the top part right here. That's what this part is for. I didn't do that on all of them. So let's say on this one, I didn't do the top stitch. It's just something that I've added. But if I would have took white thread or pink thread and top stitched right here, it would have been more decorative. But these, I didn't do that. This is something I just thought of and decided, hey, that looks good. I think I'll do that. So I'm going to take you guys over to the sewing machine and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm still just using my white thread, and I'm going to set my sewing machine on a length stitch of 4, just for decorative purposes. And I'm going to try to keep it the same distance from the edge to make that nice little top stitch. So being very careful. Pivot. And it holds it down pretty nice at the end here. It's not as bulky, it seems. Okay. Okay, that's it for this side. And it just gives it a nice little stitch up there, and I really like the way that turns out. Okay, I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll move on. Babe, you know your pigs are out? Did you let them roam around? Okay. I've seen the pigs walk in the yard. The babies keep getting out. He doesn't know how they're getting out. They do not want to be locked up anymore. But they're too big to roam the yard because they tear everything up. Okay. See how that looks? I feel like that looks really nice. And it kind of matches this fabric that it looks like there's stitches there. That's a part of the pattern. It just looks really nice. So that's why I chose to do it that way. You absolutely do not have to do that part. But anyway. So now, guys, we are going to work on this wrist strap, okay? And I forgot. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, y'all. I forgot a piece. I forgot a piece. So let me cut one out real fast. Okay. This is a 2x2. A 2x2 square, okay? And this is, like I said before, is 3x14. So it's going to give you a 7-inch strap. So to do this strap, you're going to want to fold it in half. Okay, just make a crease line. And then when you iron it down, you're going to want to fold it over and iron all the way down this side. Okay. I wonder if I can bring my ironing mat over here. Check it out. Let's just do this. Let's just do this. All right. I'm going to bring my iron to you guys. Maybe. Don't act up on me. Okay. So I'm just going to iron this flat, just like this. My little wool mat on that side. And then, can you guys see? And then I'm going to do it again over here. Just like this. Ta-da! Isn't this so cool? I just love sewing. I love how things just create and are made, and I don't know, I just love it so much. Okay, now you're going to flip it halfways, just like that, and you're going to do another press. All the way down. I don't really do steam because it really makes like the water come out. I have it on a medium steam setting, but I really like to get a new iron is what I need to do. Now, lay that aside and get your little 2x2. And we're going to do the same thing with this itty bitty piece of fabric. And you're going to be like, why? Well, in a minute, I will show you. It's really cool how this works. Okay, press it. Take the other side down. Press it. Fold it in half and do what? Press it. Just like that. All right. Now, I'm going to set this stuff aside and we're going to take this to the sewing machine. And this is the trick part, okay? I've done it a few different ways, and this way is my favorite for straps because of the bulk. We want to try to get rid of as much bulk as we possibly can. So taking I know we just ironed it down, but you're going to want to unfold it on both ends, okay? Unfold it on both ends. You're going to put print side together, okay, just like that. Print side together. And you are going to stitch this together. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go sew this together. Thanks for sticking with me, Mom. I don't know if you're still on there. All right, I'm going to set my length back to 3, back stitching, and getting it caught. All right. Back to the work table, and voila. All right. So here, if you want to trim a little bit of this off, you totally can. And now we're going to flip it back, and we're going to fold it back like it was. Yes, it will work. It will work, I promise. You're going to be like, what in the world? It will work, I promise. So fold it back together. Just work with it, and it will totally go back to the way it's supposed to be. And, okay, I totally just messed up. Let me tell you. Add this before you do this. Before you stitch this up, add this to it. Now, if you use a D-ring, you absolutely must do that first. Put it in the loop and then stitch it. But since mine's a key ring, I'm able to just feed it through. So I'm going to go ahead and feed my key ring through, okay? Because you're going to want that in there. All right. Just like that. Now, we're going to go back to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch all the way around this on both sides. And I will show you how I do that. I may just need to do like pre-recorded ones, maybe, and then just post them on Thursdays. I may just start doing that. Actually. Okay. So I'm going to leave my length stitch on a 3, and I'm starting at the seam line where we just sewed it together. I'm starting at the seam line. I'm sewing pretty close to the edge. You'll see. And I'm going to sew all the way around. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side just to make the stitch top stitch. To hold this all together. All right. So again, I'm going to start at the, well, first I'm going to get my threads off. I'm going to start at the seam. Okay, back stitch, and we are done with that part. Awesome. All right, now I got all this thread. I'm just going to clip them off, clip all the thread off, just like that. It gets kind of bulked up. Where's my seam ripper? So just clean it up the best you can. Whoops. Okay. And it should look something like that. Just top stitch. I wish that would focus. There's a focus. Can you see? Okay. All right. Now, take all your little pieces, and we're going to go back to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew all this together. But first, we're going to work on this. Okay? How shall I explain this? So, let's start with this side. This will be the easiest thing. You're going to want to fold it. So this is our card slot. This is the bottom of the card slot, okay? You're going to want to fold this piece up, all right? So fold it up just a little bit to where you got a little bit of room here. See, you're going to need some room here to sew to stitch that down. So bring that up, okay, press it down, and then I'm going to clip it so it'll hold it. And then bring this side and do the same. So I could give you dimensions and I could give you fold it this far up or whatever. That will work, but for me, it's easiest, I like it easy, to snap this together and then crease it down. Now, here's where I'm going to take it. Well, let me bring the iron to you. And we are going to press it down, okay? We need to kind of see how it fits and how it's folded. So just press the whole thing down. Open it back up, okay? And give it another good press. Just like that. All right. So this is the end that's closed, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put clips on this side just to hold this side down because we are going to start sewing on the side where we have this open seam, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is clip this off. No, there's a step we got to do first to get all this attached and it looking nice. This little piece right here, you're going to want to take it and put it around your keychain, just like this, okay? Just like that. And you're going to fold it over again, just like that. This side is going to go down inside where we have this seam. So I am going to start mine. Let me get this clip down. I'm going to clip this together so when I sew it's all together. I'm going to start mine down here by the card slot, okay? You can start either way, but I'm going to do that because this is where the seam ripped and I'm really wanting to make sure this stays shut. So I am going to take this and place it down inside here, okay? And this is where we're going to start sewing. So I'm going to put it kind of at the top to where it meets this top little fold, okay? See how that just fits right there? So that's where I'm going to start. And I'm actually probably going to pin this down. I don't usually pin it. I don't want extra holes in it, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to pin this down so that it doesn't move around on me. Nope, it's not going to let me. There's too much bulk there. It will work. It will work, I promise. Well, I can't pin that. There's just too much bulk, so it's fine. It's all fine. So we're going to go to the sewing machine, and I will show you how we just sew all this together. Okay, I am going to put my stitch length back at a 4, and I'm doing that both for security and for decorative purposes, okay? And I'm going to not do that. Jeez. Okay, this is the tricky part. Trying to fit this down in there, in between your little opening. Holding everything down and making sure everything is secure. Okay, this is the tricky part, but it will work. Okay. So I'm going to take this flap and I'm going to hold it over. I'm going to hold it open. Lower my presser foot. And I'm going to just sew forward and backward. Okay, forward and backward. Now, with my needle still down, I'm going to lay this back down in there. Now, it looks like I need to go back a little more. Okay. Now, I'm going to sew over that. And this seam, I tell you, I'm just going to have to keep this one because the seam won't stay down in there. All right. Now we're just going to sew all the way around. And it gets really thick, y'all. I mean, I don't know if my other little machine could have done this. Now I'm just going to sew. Get to the end and I'm going to pivot. Okay, now I'm at the clasp. And this is very tricky. So, if you have a standard machine like I used to have and your needle won't move, you might make sure these are kind of folded more upward. But what I like to do now is position my needle as far as I can to the left. Scoot my presser foot over. Make sure I'm still in line. And continue to sew forward all the way down, and it will sew right along that snap. Okay. I'm going to leave my needle as far to the left as it will stay because I'll have to do that one more time on the other side. Now on these little folds, I like to do a back stitch just so that it will hold a little bit better on both of them. Okay. Pivot. Okay, and the magnet will start to try to stick to your machine. It always does that, and it freaks me out a little bit because I'm like, what's going on? It's the magnet. It's fine. Now, this is where your opening seam's going to be. So here's where you're going to want to make sure everything's laying down because you're going to stitch that all together. Okay, pivot and turn. So I'm going to stitch all the way down. I'm going to back stitch a little bit because I want it to hold till I get back on my seam and go forward. And we're done. Just like that. And see, guys, we were done in an hour. You can totally make these. They're so cool. They're so cool. I'm going to snip off all my extra thread here that I do not want. And I believe I'll just keep this one. It's not going to go in the store because that seam that I just couldn't get it to fold in. And that's fine. So now I have myself a minimalist wallet that's going to carry my cell phone. It's going to carry cash if I ever have cash on me. It's going to carry my debit card. It's going to carry my ID, whatever. It's going to clasp. If I want to use it as a wallet, I can throw it down in my purse. It's totally fine. If I want to use it just to hang out, you know, like just to have, I can. If I want to put one of those carabiner hooks on the end of it, I could actually loop it to my belt. Guys, there's so many different uses for these. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you happen to make one, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Yeah, it was fast, and it's even faster like when you're just sewing them. You can totally get these done. They are so cute, versatile. Everything you need, guys, right here in this one little carry case minimalist wallet. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, Mom. Thanks for hanging out. And I will see you guys next week. Have an amazing day. Bye.